Hello. The frame is set to this still shot and will be for the entirety of this video, so if you're prone to multitasking, you won't miss anything visually. It'll be very boring, don't worry. So this video also might get lengthy, so if you're real busy today, you might want to postpone this one to another day. I had meant to make this video for Autism Awareness Month and didn't quite get to it. So I figure that any month is a good month to spread the message that I'm looking to spread. Who am I? What's my background? I've had a really unique opportunity over the past 20 years to work with hundreds of kids with autism and many other conditions as well. So I've had opportunities to work in classrooms, primarily classrooms. Alongside that, I also worked in homes. I work with kids in the community. I've had kids in my home on overnights as a respite provider. Yeah, I've had just so many opportunities to work directly one-to-one with kids of all makes and models in a variety of settings. So I've been super blessed and super lucky to have the best, most awesome teachers that anybody could ever ask for. I did go to college. When I was earning my associates at Mount Hood, I applied for work study and was sent over to the Child Care Center, the Early Childhood Development Center. And pretty quickly I was assigned to work one-on-one with a 3-year-old girl who had been through some pretty horrific things and had developed a reactive attachment disorder. There were no instructions, just keep her safe. So I did, and we managed to hit it off pretty well, and it became kind of obvious to me at that time that it was a natural fit for me, that there was a lot of intuition involved, and that it was easy for me to manage and to stay calm and to not reflect what the child was presenting. So we got on very well, she and I. And I continued with it from there, and then when I was getting my bachelor's in Washington, I found that school was really a struggle for me, and that test taking was near impossible even when I knew the material. And I just discovered and realized one day that I didn't have to be there, and that I didn't need to finish with that. I was studying primate behavior and ecology with a double major in psychology, so there were some American Sign Language speaking chimpanzees in residence that I was there for primarily. So that came to a halt. I came back. I got back into the classroom and was happy underachieving there and taking notes and accruing knowledge and wisdom from my many teachers over the years. People often asked, why don't you become a teacher? You would be very good at it. And I would respond with, I'm too smart to do that to myself, which really meant, why would I remove myself from being in direct service to the kids and instead sit behind a desk and push papers and have to do a lot of things that I'm really not good at. So yeah, I recently have begun serving children who are homeschooled in their home settings and have seen some really positive things there. And most recently have been studying RDI, or relationship development intervention. I prefer to think of it as relationship development interactions, because that's the focus. It's about the interactions that we have with one another and how our relationships evolve out of those interactions. So I've been studying that and making a shift from working mostly with kids to more with families and primarily parents. However, it's my firm belief, in order to serve parents, you need to spend time with the kid to discover who they are and what makes them tick. So that's also a part of what I offer. I founded something called Autism Positive Empowerment Services, and The reason I chose the term autism positive is, well, for a few reasons, but for those of you who are around at the height of the HIV epidemic, you're familiar with the term HIV positive, and you're likely also familiar with the negative connotation that that carried with it, and what a sour situation it was to find yourself labeled as HIV positive. Unfortunately, I feel like even though autism has been around forever, we regard autism almost in the way that we regard the term HIV positive, as though it's something very horrible, something to be withstood, something to be tolerated, something to be painfully dealt with. And while there certainly are a lot of hardships with autism and many other conditions, and even just the human condition, there are hardships. There's so much beauty and so much joy that I wanted to put my focus on spreading that message and spreading positivity around autism, and really turning that term on its head and helping people understand what autism really is and what it's all about, and to maybe take some of the confusion out of it for people. A lot of times when I'm out and about with kids, we meet a lot of very well-meaning people who want to interact or who try to interact, but feel possibly a little awkward or confused or aren't certain about the feedback that they're receiving, and have asked me at some point, what should I say, what should I do? And my response is always, how about hello? People just don't understand. They're very, very confused, and while they mean well and they want to connect, they don't know how, and they're shy about it. So I want to do my best to reverse that, and to help people learn a little bit about what I've learned firsthand from the kids, as well as through self-education. I'm an avid reader, and I particularly enjoy readings from autistic people. There's a saying, nothing about us without us, which just means that, if I'm autistic, I've got the best information for you. Why would you seek information elsewhere when you can get it directly from our community? So that's what I choose to do a lot of the time. I've also been around long enough that I have been incorporated into some of what has been termed treatment in the past, and I'm not real proud of that. We had ABA in the classrooms. However, I will say that I modified it to my liking in most cases. So while I was somewhat sticking to the plan and getting their data for them, I also made sure that it was enjoyable. Yeah, so there are a few things to this whole awareness piece that I think either are not heard of very often, or just not talked about, or not well understood. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to presume competence. What if anytime you met a person with autism, you just presumed competence? You just assume that they understood everything that you said, that their receptive language was completely intact. Maybe their expressive language doesn't indicate that. Maybe it's hard for you to assume that. Maybe you can't assume that. But here's the thing. While there are processing disorders and distractions and a lot of other things that are tying into a person's ability to display whether or not they've understood you, you'll never know. There's no way to measure or identify the truth behind that. Just because they may not show that they've understood doesn't mean that they haven't understood. There are a lot of reasons for that. The expressive language often is much more impacted than the receptive language. So while they may be able to perceive that a person has just greeted them, they may not be able to express a greeting back to the sender. So we get confused by that. Or if we say "Hi, what's your name?" and they answer red car, it's a little bit confusing on the other end. So people don't always know what to say or what to make of that kind of feedback. One of the reasons that the feedback is askew is, well, a couple of things. Oftentimes the autistic brain is very associative, and so almost anything that they register auditorily will have a pretty rapid association and may or may not come out of their mouth. So even though you may have meant one thing, their brain, for whatever reason, encoded that phrase or word with a different meaning, and that's just the association that their brain makes very instantly without much thought behind it. The other thing is motor planning. So motor planning is basically your body's ability to carry out your brain's commands effectively. So if your brain gives the command to say hello, but the word banana comes out of your mouth, you might not have any control over that. You might just always be wondering what's going to come out of my mouth. So you can see for the autistic person, it can be also intimidating, embarrassing, difficult to put themselves out there and to engage with others with all of this confusion around speech. Once the motor planning is in place for a certain phrase or word, that rolls off the tongue very easily, and the brain just falls back